I'm Indy Neidell.
And I'm Burns.
And this is the Baseball History Time Machine.
It's not inside, it's over the top.
Okay, what's that?
So that's from a thing called Cremora, which is a creamer
I know
back home.
Cremora
Yeah, you know
is.
Cremora,
Yeah.
yeah. So we had it in South Africa, and they used to have these adverts all the time where this guy would, like, you know, he's like yelling at the wife out of the kitchen. Like, he's like, Solly, where's my Cremora? And I'm checking the fridge. And she's like, it's not inside, it's on top. And it would be on top of the fridge. So that's kind of where that comes from.
Oh, because you don't need to waste valuable fridge space.
Exactly.
But then you're wasting valuable fridge top space.
I guess it's a trade-off that had to be made.
Yeah, okay, well, and now it's our slogan. Okay, now, today, I'm going to do what I should have done last time, and I'm going to continue the 19K series.
Yeah, that's
19K
right.
Club.
Okay. And who are we continuing with? Because I'm kind of like blanking here.
Well, the next guy on the list is the first guy to strike out 19 guys in a 9-inning game in the 20th century. Remember, Tom Chaney and Luis Tiant both took extra innings to do it, as we saw.
And there were two guys who did it within the 9 innings in 1884, which was Evil Eye Sweeney and One-Arm Daly. We spoke about that,
Yes,
right?
we did.
Mm-hmm.
And 85 years after they did it, Steve Carlton did it.
That seems like it would have been early in his career, maybe?
Yep. Now, Carlton was 24 when he did it September 15th, 1969. But hey, he actually also gave up 9 hits and lost the game 4-3 after leading 3-2 going into the 8th. So it was the first 19K 20th century 9-inning performance and the first 19K game loss ever as well, right?
Okay,
in fact, in all of the 9-inning 19K games, his 12 base runners that day is the most anyone has allowed.
That's like the worst side of the coin. It's like a coin. This is a good side. This is the bad side, and you have that exact coin. Carlton's big famous year was what, 1972, right?
That was it. Every schoolchild knows that lefty Carlton went 27-10 with 310 strikeouts and a 1.97 ERA in 346 innings pitched with 30 complete games for a last-place Phillies team that only won 59 games and finished 37 and a half games out of first place.
Okay, there's a lot of crazy numbers in that there, but 37 and a half back.
A half a game because the division didn't all play the same number of games. Because the beginning of the 1972 season was the first baseball players' strike. And the first bit of the season was not played during the strike. So opening day for the Phillies wasn't until April 15th.
Did Carlton start that game? He
did. See, Carlton came up with the Cardinals, who were great in the mid and late 1960s. And Carlton was an all-star in 68, 69, and 71, winning 20 games for the first time in 1971, and then being traded to the Phillies, for whom he was to be the ace.
And he sure was.
He sure was. Oh, I hear church bells. He sure was. He won 4 Cy Young Awards with them, the first guy to ever win 4. And he very much earned what was said about him. Like, you know how good someone was if you just say lefty, and everyone in both leagues knows who you're talking about.
Okay, but hang on a second. Hang on. My point was, if the Phillies missed some days of that season in 1972, Carlton would have had more starts, right? Could he have won 30 games with that last place Phillies team?
Well, the Phillies played 156 games that year because of the strike, instead of 162 like normal. I think Carlton only missed 2 starts because of the strike.
I mean, winning 27 games for a team that only won 59 games is pretty incredible.
Getting the win in 45.8% of your team's victories is the 20th century record. But you know what I think is nuts when I was digging into this?
Okay, what else? What else is
the
nuts?
Phillies actually started the season well. They were 13-7 and tied for the division lead on May 7th. And then they just started losing. They even went 1-19 at one point. And it's weird, and I don't know just why, but Carlton had a personal 15-game winning streak at one point, and the team, for the season, when he did not pitch, was 30-85.
Dude, 30-85 is horrific.
Yeah.
Like, what was the issue? Was it batting? Was it just bad? The other pitchers being bad?
The Phillies were just not good in the early 70s. Then they were great in the late 70s. But Carlton actually had a 5-game losing streak, personally, early in the year.
Okay.
So at the end of May, his record was 5-6.
Okay.
But in those 6 losses, the Phillies were shut out twice. He lost another 3 of them by 1 run each, and he lost the other one by 2.
Get my boy some run support. So it's pretty possible that he could have won 30 if he had some run support and some other good luck his way.
He did have decent run support the rest of the way. I mean, he went 22-4 the last 4 months of the season. And that's June, July, August, September.
That's pretty good.
So sure, but keep in mind the Phillies were starting him 5 or 6 starts a year more than the Cardinals had because he was their only good pitcher. Ken Reynolds, Bill Champion, and Woody Fryman were the rest of the main rotation, and they went 10 and 39
That's
combined. So Carlton pitched 25% more innings in 72 than he did in 71.
Jeez.
So even if he was as good, but with a better team in 1972, he may well not have started enough times to win 30 games or even 27.
I mean, using like modern metrics, the metrics that we are very privileged to be able to use today, what would his WAR have been
Well,
in 72?
it was a negative WUBR, so it was a positive WAR.
Negative, I forgot about
About wins
Negative.
below replacement.
Wins below replacement.
His WAR for 1972 is 12.1.
That sounds like an awful lot.
It is.
12.1 is insane.
Since the live ball era began, only Doc Gooden's 1985 tops it, and only just, that's 12.2.
Jeez. Was Carlton ever that good again?
According to WAR,
Yeah.
he was fairly close one other season. In 1980, when the Phillies won their first World Series, Lefty had a 10.2 WAR. But interestingly enough, despite all the times he led the league in wins, strikeouts, innings pitched, all that, and the 4 Cy Youngs, only one other season was his WAR above 6 in his 24-year career. Of course, they didn't have WAR then.
Yeah, I mean, there was war, but other kinds of war. But that's still interesting.
And 1972 was also his only ERA title.
That's crazy. You'd think he'd have more.
That's often the case, though. Carlton was only 5 times in the league top 5 in ERA, but he was a real workhorse. He struck out a lot of guys, and he got the job done. Another such example is Bob Gibson. I mean, everybody knows about his 1968 112 ERA season, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But outside of that, he only finished as high as 3rd in ERA, and only once. So only twice in his career was he 3rd, or, well, he's 1st once, 3rd once. That was it for his career. Carlton did at least have a couple of second place finishes.
What percentage of Phillies wins did he have again in 72? Was it
For 45.8.
45.8? And who was second best percentage on the
In
team?
the 20th century? Because remember, Jim Devlin got all of Louisville's wins in
Yeah,
1877.
that's true. That's true. Okay. And all their losses, I guess.
Yeah, well, he pitched every inning of every game. So it'd be kind of interesting if somebody else got the win. We're not giving it to you, Jim.
Sorry, you're not allowed to have these. Okay.
But 20th century, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Okay, the winner there, if we're looking at wins for a last place team, is Noodles Hahn.
Noodles.
Noodles, the only MLB player ever with the nickname Noodles, according to Baseball Reference. Now, I have the book. Actually, I have it next to me. I have the book Dead Ball Stars of the National League, which has a good Noodles Hahn bio in it.
Okay.
I believe it's the same as his Sabre bio online, since the book was published by Sabre.
Okay.
Here, I'll tell you what. Here. I have it here. You can borrow this.
Yes. Okay, that's
It's thick and it's fantastic, and it's great like reading in the bathroom because each of the bios are only like 2 pages long.
Okay, that's killer.
So you'll really learn the dead ball. They also have an American League version of, well, you can get it at Amazon or eBay. Dead Ball Stars of the National League, Dead Ball Stars of the American League.
Sick. I'm definitely gonna. But why was he called Noodles?
Well-
like that's still the biggest question to me is why was he called
Okay,
Noodles?
from that bio, quote, he acquired his distinctive nickname as a youngster, though he claimed he didn't know why. All I know is they always called me Noodles, Hahn said. And I'm assuming that's his accent. But a friend claimed to recall the origin quite well. When Hahn was a boy in Nashville, the man explained, he always had to carry his father's lunch to him. His father worked in a piano factory, and the lunch was always noodle soup. So that nickname was a natural. There are at least 3 other variations on the story, however.
Okay.
In one, he earned the nickname because he sold his mother's homemade noodle soup. In a second, he was simply fond of the soup. And in a third, his brothers gave him the nickname for carrying noodle soup for his grandmother to a poor neighbor.
Noodles Hahn. So, what was his last place wins thing? Sorry, I'm still not over that name. That's so.
In
that's so
1901,
funny.
Noodles Hahn won 22 games for a Cincinnati team that only won 52, which is 42.3% of their wins.
That's a pretty impressive feat. And was Noodles generally a good pitcher? Like,
He was great, and the Reds during his career actually were generally pretty good too.
Okay.
Just a couple of poor seasons like 1901. Noodles broke in as a hot rookie in 1899, going 23-8 and leading the league in strikeouts at the age of 20.
so he's like a good one then.
In some ways, yeah. Strikeouts for sure. Between the burnouts of Amos Ruzzi and Cy Seymour in the late 1890s and the rise of Christy Mathewson in the early 1900s, Noodles Hahn was the National League strikeout king, leading the league in strikeouts each of his first 3 seasons. And here's something else that people miss about Noodles Hahn.
What's that?
Since 1893, when we got the modern pitching distance, only Bob Feller reached 100 wins at a younger age than Hahn.
So what happened to this hero?
He put together 6 straight great years to begin his career.
Okay.
4 of them 20-win seasons, all of them retroactively with a WAR over 6, won over 100 games before his 25th birthday, and then won just 8 games in 1905 and 06, and then was out of baseball with a dead arm.
Another tragic tale.
Noodles kind of knew it was going to happen. He topped 300 innings in each of his first 4 seasons, maxing out at 375, and even said that season in Sporting News, "I am wise enough to know that I cannot last forever." Now he's got a different accent. "And that I am greatly shortening my career by pitching as I did last season."
But fame is fame, I guess.
And famous he was. You know, it's funny. He racked up 45 WAR in just 6 full seasons. And Hall of Famer Addie Joss, a contemporary of Hahn's, totaled 45 in 8 full seasons.
Yeah, well, Josh is a legend.
He is, and Hahn should be more of one too. Check this out. Here's a good story. Hahn could have had the nickname Icebox, like Icebox Chamberlain, because he was so cool. Here's a quote. The Cincinnati Commercial Tribune reminisced about a game early in the season in Pittsburgh that set the tone for Hahn's rookie campaign. Leading 1-0 in the bottom of the 9th, he surrendered a leadoff triple to Big Bill Clark. Facing the next batter, Hahn suddenly moved as if delivering the ball to the plate, but instead laid it on the ground. The crowd noise was deafening in anticipation, and it looked as if Hahn had quit under the strain. But, quote, with a slow motion, he put his hand in his shirt pocket, pulled out a plug of tobacco, took a bite, and then prepared for business. The crowd watched dumbfounded as Hahn struck out the final 3 hitters. Pittsburgh manager Patsy Donovan talks of the game to this day. He will tell you it was the greatest game he ever saw a young pitcher deliver, and author note, the box score shows Hahn with only 3 strikeouts for the game in total. Hahn pushed his record to 15-4 before finishing 23-8.
That's pretty nails.
Remember, even the strikeout guys, you're still pitching to contact. It's
Yeah, of
the
course.
1890.
Yeah, of course.
But I love that. When you need the strikeout, strike out the side.
He gets him.
Runner on third, 9th inning. In his brief career, Hahn pitched a no-hitter, and from what I understand, was the first guy post-1893 to strike out 16 guys in one game. And that wouldn't be topped until Dizzy Dean managed 17 in the 1930s.
What did he do with himself after his career?
Hahn actually planned for his future during his career, realizing it wasn't going to be,
Clever guess. We have a thinker.
He studied to be a veterinarian, and that's what he became. Now, he remained close to Cincinnati baseball. He lived in Cincinnati. Yeah. Remained there, pitching batting practice for the Reds as late as 1946, when he was 68 years old. And a side note, according to the Washington Post, Hahn was also Major League Baseball's best piano player.
See, that's a cool little tidbit there, and why don't people hear more about a guy like this? Like it's kind of lost in a way.
Maybe, I don't know, Cincinnati wasn't a big market team. I don't know.
You might maybe he gets mentioned on the Cincinnati broadcast. Perhaps.
Maybe.
I mean, the
His
Sporting
name's Noodles.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you not bring that up? Also, speaking of the Sporting News, it was brought up in a game the other day. They were playing in St. Louis. They brought up the Sporting News. I was like, I know what that is.
Yeah. If you have a Sabre membership and you get paper records, so you have the entire Sporting News history, you can go on. But it's dangerous. You start reading one baseball issue from 1948 or something, and 4 hours later, you're still reading every single article and the ads and stuff.
It's better than getting lost in the other kind of content on the internet, I guess, when you just scroll mindless.
Yeah, this is you learn things.
You actually learn things.
I was reading a thing George Sisler was coaching Jackie Robinson to hit during the year Jackie Robinson won the batting title. They got it, and I'm like, I had no idea that Sisler worked with it.
That's so cool. See, this is a place you come to learn things, and that's where we learn things. Something that's been in the back of my head, bugging me for a few minutes.
What? What is it?
You said that Hahn had the highest percentage of the team's wins after Carlton for a last place team, right?
Right.
Were there guys with better teams that won a higher percentage of them than Hahn, like a higher clip rate of wins?
There were, actually. When Jack Cheeseborough went 41-12 with the 1904 Highlanders, those 41 wins were 44.5% of the team's 92 total. And Ed Walsh, as we've discussed before.
Big Ed.
Big Ed.
Big Ed, love Big
Who could
Ed.
strut while standing still.
Yes, yes.
He went 40-15 for the 1908 White Sox, who won 88 games. So he actually won 45.4% of his team's games,
Wow.
which is just behind
Yeah,
Carlton's mark
yeah.
for the best of the century overall. And a good honorable mention. In 1901 and 1902, Cy Young won 33 and 32 games for Boston.
Yeah.
Then the Americans, now the Red Sox. And the Americans won 79 and 77. So he won 41.7 and 41.6% of their games over 2 consecutive seasons. More than 40% of their games for 2 years.
I guess there will only ever be one Cy Young.
There will only ever be one Cy Young.
Pretty incredible to put up anything close to marks like those.
Yep, once you've even winning 25% of your team's games.
Yeah,
you know?
okay. So, okay, but we've sidetracked now. Are we going to get back to Carlton?
I want to first sidetrack into something I maybe should have talked about last time when I talked about Louis Tiant.
Okay.
That I am reminded of since I touched on it earlier.
Okay.
In 1972, baseball players strike.
What about it?
Well, when the players began play again, MLB said the missed games were not going to be replayed, right?
Yeah, okay.
That's how
makes sense.
people end up half a game.
Yes,
right?
yes, of course, yeah.
Now, this actually might have really affected one of the divisional races. See, as we saw, Tiant emerged as the Tiant of old and nearly pitched Boston to the division title.
Okay.
They played their final 3 games against the Tigers, and they lost 2 to finish half a game behind the Tigers.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Among the missed and not replayed games at the beginning of the season were 5, count them, 5 games between the Tigers and the Red Sox, 3 of those in Boston. So the Red Sox could quite possibly have won the division if not for the strike. Now, side note here. Doug Wilson wrote that in an article about the strike that I found. But doing some digging on Baseball Reference, the Tigers played the full 18 games against some of their divisional opponents that year, like the Yankees and the Brewers, which is what they were supposed to play.
Yes.
18 games against teams in your division, 12 against the other division in your league's teams to make 162. And there are results listed for 14 games between Boston and Detroit. See, I'm doing my research.
Yeah.
So it might only be 4 games between them that missed, but it's the same idea anyhow.
What is the reason for the strike?
The Major League Baseball Players Association went on strike April 1st, 1972. Opening day was the 5th. Here is a quote from that article. But as the scheduled opening days of April 5th came and went, with empty ballparks still locked up, fans were left on their knees, pounding their fists in the sand, screaming, "You maniacs! You blew it up! Damn you all to hell!" Yep, Planet of the Apes reference. I loved that when I read that. It made me smile. In 1972, still quoting now, the Major League minimum salary was $13,500. The average was $34,092. Carl Yastrzemski was the top dog, still working on his unprecedented 3-year, $500,000 deal.
Jeez,
Most
back then.
Major League players worked winter jobs to help make ends meet.
Yeah.
Even the stars relished the chance to get an endorsement deal to add extra cash. Players lived in small towns back home, in unassuming houses in real neighborhoods. In short, they were just like everyone else.
Sure isn't like that 50 years later, I'll tell you what.
It very much is not. But the issue in 1972 was for more pension funding and better health benefits for players. The deadline for a new collective bargaining agreement approached, and the owners did not think the players' union would stick together. They didn't think the higher-paid star players would stick up for the lower-paid players, since during a strike, none of them are getting paid.
I guess they were wrong.
They were. The players' union stuck together behind attorney Marvin Miller, who they hired from the Steelworkers Union, even though all the players lost some money.
Jeez, and how much money are we talking here?
Quote, although Commissioner Bowie Kuhn publicly stated that there were no winners in the first baseball strike, it was obvious that the players were the big victors. While the missed games cost a player making around $20,000 a year around $1,100, and guys higher on the pay scale close to $10,000, the loss had been worth it. With the agreement to conclude the first baseball strike, the owners agreed to add $500,000 to the players' pension fund, and, more importantly, agreed to add salary arbitration to the collective bargaining agreement. Arbitration was a huge victory for the players. Now there was a process in front of an independent judge which would allow players to resolve contract disputes with owners. This unprecedented move would prove fateful for owners and their beloved reserve clause within 4 years.
When did free agency, so to speak, really begin?
It was December 1975
Okay.
that arbitrator Peter Zeitz struck down the reserve clause and the courts upheld him. So Dave McNally and Andy Messersmith could sign with anyone they wanted to.
There was something else in 72 though, right? Like,
I think you're thinking of the case that went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court of Flood versus Kuhn. That would be Commissioner Kuhn and outfielder Kurt Flood. This was the case, well, not the first one, but a super big one that challenged the reserve clause and baseball's exemption from the Sherman Antitrust Act, which had been granted in 1922 by the Supreme Court.
when did the reserve clause like really take effect, and how did it become such a thing, such a big thing in baseball?
It began small, and it made sort of sense in the 1879 National League.
Jeez.
Players were no longer revolving. In other words, signing a contract with one team and jumping ship when a better one came along.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that anymore in the National League.
Yeah, of course.
But it was really tough to make a profit for a team in the earliest days of Major League Baseball. So National League President William Hulbert said each team could reserve 5 players from their team, and other teams could not offer those guys contracts. Obviously, the first guys reserved were the biggest stars, like Cap Anson and Tommy Bond. Here's the thing. There weren't 5 or 10-year contracts then. Most baseball careers and thus contracts were short, especially for pitchers.
Yeah.
And contracts were signed anew each season. And keeping other teams from offering deals to your top players meant you could keep a lid on their salaries and maybe make some money. This was also defended as a way to maintain competitive balance, since some teams had way deeper pockets than others, and they might otherwise buy all of the major stars, which would never happen today. But still, stop laughing, but still, only 5 reserve guys on a team.
It didn't stay like that for long, right?
No. In 1883, it went to 11 guys per team, 14 in 1887, and then all the players by 1890 in the National League and American Association on their team. If you signed a contract with an NL or AA team, you were under their control until you retired, were traded, were released, or died.
Wow, that's quite grim.
I can't make you play once you're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
This did have challenges, and of course. The biggest first one being by Monty Ward, who was one of the founders of the Players League, the third major league that operated in 1890, and that did not have the reserve clause, promising players 3-year contracts with no pay cut after the first year, and the same salaries those players had gotten in either 1888 or 1889 in the NL or AA. When Ward jumped the Giants for the Players League, the National League sued, and it went to the New York State Supreme Court.
Jeez.
Justice O'Brien disagreed with Ward that the clause didn't apply to the Players League for players who jumped leagues. However, he had a real issue with the way the clause was worded, like that a perpetually renewing clause that didn't mention a salary, for example, was too vague to enforce to him. The court also did not like the system that you belonged to the team forever, but they only had to give you 10 days' notice if they wanted to let you go.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
It is.
Absolute bullshit.
It has always been bullshit.
Yeah.
Now, I'll talk about the Players League one day, which lasted just one season, but not today. There were loads of other challenges, like when Nap Lashway jumped to the American League in 1901, and the court ruled that because he had a unique skill set, it could not compel him to play for the Phillies, but it could prevent him from playing for anyone else, at least in Pennsylvania, because the court was the Pennsylvania Supreme Court.
So how did that work then?
In 1902, when the decision came, he just didn't join the team for games in Philadelphia. He just didn't play those games.
Okay. I mean, that's one way to
Now,
circumvent it.
Flood's case was really big news. See, he was traded from the Cards to the Phillies after, I think, 1969. Might have been 60. No, it's pretty certain it was 69. He's traded from the Cards to the Phillies, but he didn't want to play for the Phillies, right?
Okay.
So he got a former Supreme Court Justice, Arthur Goldberg, to represent him through Miller and the Players Association. In a surprise to many, the Supreme Court upheld the reserve system, but popular opinion was strongly on Flood's side and really turned against MLB. Kuhn said publicly he looked forward to talking about free agency with the Players Union. He would later write, "The last thing I wanted was for the clubs to view the Flood decision as an excuse for doing nothing. Change was in the wind. Other sports were changing. We could not possibly sit still."
So Kurt Flood really kind of like forced their hand.
Well, he inspired it in a big way.
Was he a good player?
Oh, he was a star. He won 7 straight Gold Gloves in the outfield before this happened. 3-time All-Star, 5 times in the top 10 in the National League in batting average, on a fairly likely path to 3,000 hits.
Okay.
I'll go over this more in the near future. Remind me.
Yeah, I will.
The Flood case and the start of free agency is complicated and has way more history than I've gone over today, and it is worth an episode of its own. But I will not get into it more now.
Okay, so we're going to go all the way back to Steve Carlton now.
Sure. What more do you want to know about
Okay,
Steve
what
Carlton?
happened to him after 72? Like a lot of guys that, that worked that hard, obviously there were like repercussions, like a kind of like an aftershock for like having a season
Okay,
like that.
fair enough. And Carlton was no different. In 1973, the Phillies won 71 games, up 12 from 72.
Okay.
But Carlton went 13-20, leading the league in losses, and his ERA was worse than league average.
Was it because of bad fielding or was it overuse?
I genuinely do not know. I've never read stuff to the effect that it was overuse, and he did have flashes of brilliance.
Yeah.
Then in 1974, he led the league in strikeouts again. He was an all-star again.
Okay.
But 75 was the kind of season a number 2 or 3 starter might have. Better than average, but not much better, and not ace level.
Okay.
But then in 76, he started turning it around. He went 20-7, leading the league in winning percentage. Then in 77, he got his second Cy Young Award, going 23-10. But one big change was the Phillies, after finishing last in 71, 72, 73, won the division 76, 77, 78, winning 101 games in each of the first 2 of those years.
I mean, for him specifically, having struggled through those first couple of years with them, it has to feel so good knowing you have a good team backing you.
Yeah, you got Mike Schmidt, Greg Lazinski, Bake McBride, Gary Maddox, Larry Boa, adding Pete Rose to win the World Series in 1980. Carlton won his third and then 4th Cy Youngs at 35 and 37 years old in 1980 and 82.
Okay.
Now, I remember when I was a teenager how he and Nolan Ryan were going back and forth with the all-time strikeout record.
Oh, Carlton was up there for strikes?
Lefty Carlton had the all-time strikeout record at times. Ryan topped Walter Johnson's all-time mark of 3,509 strikeouts first in April 1983. But Carlton passed Ryan in June, and Carlton finished 1983 as the all-time strikeout leader with 3,709. Ryan, of course, still had another 2,000 strikeouts in his gas tank.
Jeez.
1983 was a big year for Carlton in another way, as he got his 300th win in September.
Okay, so let me just put this into perspective. As 1983 ends, he's got, 4 Cy Youngs, 300 wins, and he has the all-time strikeout record.
Yeah, he does. And he led the major leagues in strikeouts in both 1982 and 83.
At this point, you're feeling invincible. You feel like I can go forever. Like at this point.
And yet the decline was really swift. In 1984, he did go 13-7, but with basically a league average ERA.
Yeah.
Then in 85, his ERA was better, but he only went 1 win and 8 losses.
Interesting.
And then in 86, he appeared for the Phillies, Giants, and White Sox. Went 9-14 with a 5.10 ERA, and then was worse in 1987 for Cleveland, Minnesota. And after one start with the Twins in 88, that was it.
That's a pretty sharp decline for someone.
Okay, he was 43.
Yeah, sure. But I would have been I was wanting like some sort of like fine wine, like ending to his career.
Like a Nolan Ryan ending.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he was 43 when he retired, and he had thrown 5,217 innings, which is 9th all-time now, today.
Yeah.
And it's only 150 or so fewer than Ryan ended up with.
Who has the most? Just for interest.
Cy Young, and it's not even close. Young pitched 7,356 career innings, which is 1,300 more innings, or more than 4 300-inning seasons more than the number 2 Pud Galvin.
Like I said before, there will only ever be one Cy Young.
Well, there was also only one Lefty Carlton.
That's true.
Now, I saw him pitch at least a half a dozen times live at the Astrodome when I was a kid. I saw a lot of great arms there.
That's some core memories, right?
Yeah, my Astros childhood memories are amazing to hang on to as I near 60 years old. I'll be 60 next September. Now, the best ever, I know I've mentioned it before, and Mom and I, we talk about it still, get chills, was, when you'd hear, it'd be packed, the Astrodome, and the guy coming up to the plate, you hear, batting fourth, left field number 25, Jose Cruz. 20,000 people all go, ooh.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Ooh. Okay, to be fair, he also played right field a couple seasons too.
Okay.
Well, with that memory of my absolute favorite player growing up, Nolan Ryan was my favorite pitcher, but Cruz was my favorite player overall. We are going to leave you all for today.
But we will be back soon.
We sure will. And hey, Burns, you don't know this.
Yeah.
We have a winner for who gets the Luis Tiant photo with the quote about him looking like Pancho Villa after a long week of looting and burning.
Yes,
I haven't written back to the guy to tell him it,
Amazing.
but someone named Andrew Pfannkuche, I think I'm saying that right, who he mentioned when he wrote in is also a Cubs fan like you,
Oh,
Burns.
yeah? Hell yeah.
Andrew, I will write back to you and get your address so that we can send it to you.
We should give away something like that every time. I think it's cool to engage
I'm down
the
with
fans
that.
like
Let's wait and see how much the postage costs on this one. But hey, if you want to help us not have to think about postage or money matters like that, then you can please support us on Patreon at any of several tiers. We can always use the assistance to do more and more of these classic episodes.
And please, you must tell all your baseball-loving friends out there. Tell them about us and write to your local newspaper, your senator, your representative, whoever you have to write to, so that we can get a bit of a bigger footprint. That'd be really nice.
And we'll write into us too, just to say hi at baseballhistorytimemachine.com or on Facebook or on Instagram. So take us home, buddy.
That's it for today from me, Burns.
And me, Indy Neidell.
And the Baseball History Time Machine.